Hi, it's Steve from PartSelect. Today we're going to show you how to change the water inlet pipe on your front load washer. That's a really easy job. All we're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver, a pair of needle nose pliers, a small flat blade screwdriver, and a 7mm nut driver if you have one. Let me show you how we do it. Now before we begin this repair, we will need to disconnect power to the washer, so simply pull the plug from the receptacle. And next we're going to remove the back of the control panel. There's 3 Phillips screws that hold it in position. And we can just roll that back and unsnap it from the back of the control panel, and we'll set that aside. Next we'll need to remove 3 screws that are across the back of the top panel, and using a 7mm nut driver we'll pull those screws out, and then we can just pull that panel back about an inch, and then we can lift it up and then set it back out of the way. That gives us access to the screws that secure the console to the cabinet. Now our next step will be to remove the soap dispenser, so just pull it out and then reach in and depress the tab that holds it in position, and then slide it out. We can then remove the single Phillips screw to the left of that soap box, and then 2 screws on the top, one on either corner. And then we can lift that control panel away. There are some tabs that hold it in position, so you need to pry it a little bit, just not be too aggressive. And there are 2 tabs that go through the back plate on that control panel. We need to depress those to unlock it. Then we can just roll that panel up and out of the way. And that will give us access to the 2 screws on top of the front panel. And we also need to remove the 3 screws across the bottom of the lower access panel. Our next step will be to open the door and remove the screws that secure the door latch assembly to the front panel. There are 3 Phillips screws that we need to remove. And next we need to remove the band clamp around the front of the door boot. So with a pair of needle nose pliers, if you look right at the very bottom, you'll see a spring with a hook on each end of it. So we can grab hold of that wire and then stretch that spring enough that we can roll the clamp out of the groove in the door bellows or door boot, and then remove it. Now we can roll the bellows away from the front panel and just tuck it into the opening so that it's completely detached. Next we'll remove the 4 screws that secure that front panel to the cabinet. We'll take the top 2 out first, and then while supporting the weight of the front panel, we'll remove the bottom 2 screws. Now we can lift the front panel up and away. There are 2 locating pins on the bottom that support that, as well as a couple of hooks on the top that fit into these slotted openings. So we can now set that aside. Now next we'll disengage that water pipe from the side of the bellows and just roll the bellows off of the end of the water pipe. And then in a twisting motion we're going to remove the pipe from the soap box. There's a rubber grommet that holds that to the soap box, so it's just a friction fit. Just work it off carefully, and then we can discard the old water pipe. Make sure that that grommet is clean, and you may want to moisten the inside of that water pipe where it fits onto that, or the grommet itself. That will allow it to go on easier. And again, when just in a rocking twisting motion, we'll make sure that it goes on until it hits the stop on the bottom, and then make sure it's rotated to the right angle to line up with the door bellows. And then we'll fit the bellows over the end of the pipe and make sure it comes right up to the edge of those two stops. And now we can put the front panel back on. So we'll engage these two slotted openings with the hooks on the top, and that'll allow it to hang in place. And then we can reach inside and pull the door latch assembly into position afterwards. Now with it in position, we'll put two screws in on the top just to secure it, and then we can reach inside and position the door latch. Just pull that bellows aside, and then we can reach in and line up the door latch, and then replace the 3 Phillips screws. As we're tightening these screws, we need to make sure that the door switch fits in the center of that opening so it doesn't bind. And then we can tighten those screws. Now we can put the 2 bottom screws in, and we can tighten those and tighten the top ones as well. Now we'll open the door again. We're going to make sure that the groove in that front panel that the bellows is going to fit into is clean and free of any debris. Now we can pull that bellows out through that opening. Once we've got it completely pulled through, just take note that there is a folded edge there that's going to fit down into that groove, and then just fit it in all the way around. Take care that we don't get any twists in that bellows. Now when it's properly in position, there should be a lip that lays right up against the front panel, and then a groove in front of that for our wire clamp to fit into. So we'll position that wire clamp so that the spring will be on the bottom, and we can just start it somewhere near the top, and then fit it into that groove, far around as we can get it. And then with our needle nose pliers, we're just going to grasp the very end of that wire band where it connects to the spring. We're going to pull it towards us so that we stretch the spring and keep it in tight to the front panel. And then we can just rotate that wire into the groove. Check to make sure we didn't put any twists in it. And now we can put the lower access panel on and the control panel. So we'll fit that lower access panel in underneath the bottom lip of the front panel. Make sure it fits up nice and tight. And then we'll put the center screw in first, and then the 2 outside screws. Now with those replaced, we can tilt the machine back just enough to pull those temporary blocks out. Now we can put the control panel back in place. Now when installing the control panel, we'll need to make sure that we have this locking tab on the bottom lined up in that rectangular slot. There's a locating pin right beside it, and then another locking tab over on the right hand side. We also need to make sure that we engage these 4 tabs across the top into the rectangular openings on the top of that metal frame. So we'll hook those in first, across the top. We'll rotate it down into position, press it in so that those 2 tabs lock, and then we'll replace the 1 Phillips screw next to the soap box, and we can replace the soap box. Line up the 2 rails with the appropriate sides. Check to make sure it locks. And then we can replace the top panel and the rear cover. So we'll next put the 2 screws in on the top of the control panel housing. That'll secure it to the cabinet. And then we'll slide the front panel into position, lift it up over that lip on that control panel housing until it sits flat. And there are some keyhole slots that will lock that into position as we push it forward. And we can replace the 3 screws across the back. And then the trim piece behind the control panel. And again, there are some little locking tabs that will hook into 3 rectangular openings in the main top. So we need to make sure that those engage. And also there are 4 little tabs across the top that will engage in the back of the control panel. So hook them into the top panel first. And then press it into the back of the control panel. Install the 3 screws. We can now push the washer back into position. We'll reconnect the power, and our repair is complete.
I told you it was an easy job. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your repair.